Okay, I'm with James Schneider, who's the director of the Israeli Museum here in Jerusalem. Now, James, you've just opened a brand new exhibit about King Herod. Tell us more about it.
Sure. First, for the Israel Museum, this is perhaps the most ambitious archaeology exhibition that we've ever undertaken. Secondly, and interestingly, this is the first time that Herod has been treated as the central subject in a major museum exhibition anywhere in the world.
What can people see when they come here?
Well, what they will see, this narrative is really quite an interesting one. What occasioned the decision to produce the exhibition was the discovery in 2007 of Herod's burial place in Herodium. And the first idea was to do an exhibition that would document the narrative of Herod's death at his palace in Jericho, and then the procession that brought him to his burial site in Herodium. We felt that that story needed to be expanded because the story that's not really ever been told is the story of how remarkable Herod was as a regional imperial leader and builder, representing the Roman Empire in this region and really putting the aesthetic touch of Rome across the region in Jerusalem, in Caesarea, in Masada, in Jericho. And at the same time that Herod managed to have that strong diplomatic tie to the home base, he enabled the flourishing here locally of a local culture which was Second Temple period Judaism, and in a way this was a kind of golden age for Jewish culture during Second Temple time. And so that delicate balance is really a kind of remarkable thing to see in history, and Herod accomplished that.
How important is Herod to Jerusalem itself?
Well, if you know the archaeology wing galleries of the Israel Museum, they cover the kind of archaeological history of the region from prehistory, more than 1 million years ago, to Islamic culture in the Ottoman time. And a watershed moment in that history is the moment of Second Temple Jerusalem, when side by side you have Herod's Roman Jerusalem and you have Jewish Second Temple Jerusalem. So this is really an important part of the long history of where we are, and Herod is central to that story.
Now, you have a reconstruction of the burial chamber of Herod. How important was that found when they found it at Herodion?
Well, it was remarkably important because a very distinguished archaeologist in Israel named Ehud Netzer had spent over 4 decades excavating Herodium, which was an important summer palace for Herod. But according to Josephus, it was also the site of his burial mound, and yet it had never been found. So the discovery in 2007 of his burial site was just a kind of moment of magic.
How many finds do you have here altogether in the exhibit?
I think, well, it's not really the way to characterize the quality of an exhibition, but I think we have about 30 tons of archaeological material and altogether 250 artifacts and artifactual reconstructions.
And where have all these finds came from?
From all the places that I've mentioned, because really we wanted to cover the whole narrative of Herod's hand on Jerusalem, Caesarea, Masada, Jericho, finally Herodium.
And do you get to really get an understanding of who Herod was when you come to the exhibition?
I think you just need to walk around and do 2 things. You want to feel the sense, the way in which the Roman aesthetic presence laid its hand on the building of the region. But then you also want to keep in mind that this was the period of the flourishing of Second Temple Jerusalem. And then you get it just like that, a little bit like lightning.
Is this the largest exhibition that the museum has ever put on?
How do you define large? It might be the heaviest.
Yeah.
No, it might be the weightiest.
And how much does it cost to put this on, and has it all been paid for?
I can't really say how much it costs because we don't talk about that, but I will say that it cost twice what a major scale exhibition normally costs. And fortunately, the exhibition has been entirely funded by a major foundation in the U.S., the William Davidson Foundation in Detroit, which is very committed to archaeological heritage in Israel, and by Bank Hapoalim in Israel, and by several private sponsors.
And what's your prayer for the exhibition as people come to visit it?
You know, we're having the exhibition on view for 9 months so that our local public can really experience it in depth, and also so that all tourists who come through the country during this period will have the opportunity to see it. You know, if the museum could be ever bigger, this is a kind of display that you would create as a sidebar to our moment in our long narrative about the time, the very important time of Second Temple Jerusalem. So we want as many people as possible to come to see it and enjoy it, and to appreciate this side of Herod.
What happens to all the pieces once the exhibition is finished?
Well, some, of course, are from our own collection. Some are borrowed from other collections. The material from Herodium will go back to Herodium.
Okay, thank you very much.